Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Your host, Tracy Hayes. Another Jack's Real Producer Magazine top producing agent in 2020. She has worn many hats in her professional adult life, and that path led to real estate. She is an influencer in Northeast Florida. She has founded her own team, the Coastal Home Group, which we'll learn more about here shortly. I was fortunate enough to chat with her last week and to get some interesting facts about her. Hopefully she will share more today. I'll let her choose that. Created to be a connector. I don't know if you knew you had that on LinkedIn. It's a great slogan. I love it.
Thank you.
She has partnered with one of the fastest growing brokerages in the region, Heron Real Estate, who has an amazing leadership team. Let's welcome the finder of homes, the home in the Coastal Home Group, Nikki-Lyn Holm.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Glad you can make it in. If there's any one face that I see consistently, over a year ago when I started looking at doing the podcast, and my coach was like, well, make a list of, I think it was like 100 people or something that you want to have on. And it started with like dream people, like having like a Grant Cardone on or someone like that, a John Maxwell, and then going down. And Nikki-Lyn, I've seen you consistently out there. Obviously one of the things we're going to talk about today is surrounding yourself with successful. I see a lot of the top successful agents surrounding themselves with other successful agents. And I see you mixed in all the time in those groups. So with the social media, which is I stalk on social media.
I respect that.
I learned something at a conference a few weeks ago. Especially if you're trying to meet somebody or try to create a relationship, you can go on their social media and learn a lot about them.
Absolutely.
They put it out there. It's not like they're hiding it. I think that's why, I think some people think it's hidden, but you're out there. Go find out. And then obviously there may be some topic of discussion. So as I like to kick off every show, where are you from?
I am originally from the Northeast.
Okay.
Born and raised.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where?
I grew up on Cape Cod.
Oh, we're so close. Connecticut.
Okay. Yeah, I've treaded over that turf many times. You can't go anywhere from Cape Cod unless you're going north to Boston. If you're going south, you got to run over Connecticut.
It's easy to do.
Yes.
And but I basically
always loved the McDonald's in Mystic. The McDonald's on the hill.
Mystic
No,
Pizza?
yeah. Well, there's a Mystic, Connecticut, right? Is it
Yes,
Mystic, Connecticut?
yes.
And there was a little McDonald's on the hill. It was for some reason it was just the right distance from home because we always left early in the morning, and that was like a popular stop for Dad. He always wanted to stop at that McDonald's for some reason.
I don't really do a lot of McDonald's.
No, that was some years ago.
But I won't judge you.
We're older now.
Yes. But did you ever see the movie Mystic Pizza?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes.
That's my immediate association with Mystic.
Okay.
But anyway, I digress. I grew up really in Tampa Bay from 14 until about 14 years ago.
What brought you over to the Jack's area?
Good question.
A man?
No. I am smarter than I look. I actually was a single mom, and living in Tampa, she was a miracle and a surprise. Mm-hmm. And the man that promised...
This is your oldest?
Yes.
Okay.
He promised me that it wasn't a matter of when we would get married, but if we would, but when. So I could have followed him to Atlanta.
Okay.
But I'm smarter than that.
You stopped in Jacksonville on the way?
I just said, you know what? That's not going to work for me without a ring. So, so family had relocated here. So
okay.
I followed them. They offered me a great opportunity to reset and regroup and enjoy 1 year of my life just being a mom.
Yeah. We actually started, my wife is from Jacksonville. We were in Arkansas because she was working for Altel at the time when they got bought out by Verizon. And we came back here because, her sister was here and her mom and dad and so forth. And now my mom and dad is here, so everyone's close to family here for myself too. So so I'm studying your, you started off with an associate's in mass communication, but how did you diverse though into culinary management?
Well, that was many years in between.
Okay.
I was actually the first person in my immediate family to go to college, and I did it myself.
Right.
And I took the long way there. While I was putting myself through college, I started off with Continental Airlines in Tampa. Mm-hmm. And I feel like in that 10 plus years, aside from the great flight benefits, I really learned everything I thought at the time that I needed to know about people, but we're always still learning.
Right. So you were in a call center.
I was in a
kind
call
of doing
center.
customer service.
Before outsourcing,
I
yeah.
interpreted that correctly. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I started off in sales, went to special marketing, and then eventually I was a supervisor handling the irate calls. That was fun.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Why my plane isn't taking off on time.
Yeah, it's our fault.
Yeah. To my luggage is lost.
Again, our fault.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
It has
That
to be.
is.
Who else's fault
Right.
is it?
The worst of it was 9/11, though, and the one lady, because, everything was grounded.
Yeah,
And she
immediately.
said, she said, I should have been your airline that went down. And that's when I learned that, wow, people can be really cruel.
Wow.
Yeah. That's, anyway.
I don't even want to diverse on that. Let's go.
I'm
We're going to
sorry.
go on the positive things.
Positive things.
All right. So you had about, I read on your LinkedIn, about 13 years there at Continental, working in the call center.
Yeah.
And then
Flew around the world for free.
that must have been awesome.
It was.
Yeah. Just to take advantage of that, which I imagine there's probably a lot of people that don't take advantage of it, but you did. Where's some
did.
great places that you?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I went everywhere on a shoestring budget. I loved, at the time, Seattle, New York, Chicago, Hawaii multiple times. Mm-hmm. And I went to Paris numerous times, the Netherlands,
Wow.
London, Italy, Greece.
Because were you single during most of this time?
I was.
Yeah. And just grab a friend, or you just went on your own?
All of it. Sometimes by myself,
Oh, that's
sometimes with
cool.
friends.
That is so interesting, because you're bringing me a total thought that I wasn't even thinking about. But there's a lot of these adventurous people. Here you're a single woman, gonna go over to Europe and on a shoestring budget. Whether you were hiking, or I guess you would get the rail pass, or what would you? What are some? Give us an idea. What was one of your great adventures?
Shoestring budget with a credit card, and I don't advise that, but I eventually took care of that and
It
learned.
has a cap.
So I mean, I'm not that person that would I really don't do less than a really nice place to stay.
Okay.
Even then, but yeah, I just, even if I was going to Hawaii for 3 or 4 days, I would do it.
Yeah.
And just go big, and then go home.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reality is you covered a lot of places that people dream about, and it's one of the things that I battle with. That there's a lot of places, and all of a sudden life happens. You have kids, and you're like, oh man, I want to go to Hawaii, but then I also want to go over here, and then you procrastinate. Life happens, and next thing, years go by, and
Exactly.
you don't do it, and you jumped on it, and there's a lot of stories there, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I was always doing multiple things. Like I said, school and a few other jobs. I was there at the airlines to earn the flight benefits for life. Really, it's 15 years, and to see the world young.
So
because
you
you
couldn't
never
stretch
know.
it another 2 more years there?
No, I was done. By the time they offered an early out package, I had gone into that next phase of managing health clubs.
Okay. Now I saw something on here was interesting. Divine cooking.
Oh, you did.
I'm digging. I dig deep on
You
this.
do. Yes.
My partner here, my assistant Dana, she used to work for the Secret Service, so I know everything about everybody that I need to know.
That's scary.
No, I'm just joking. Don't worry about it. She did work for the Secret Service, though.
I think I'm crying. Yes, I did. So we're fast forwarding over to being in Jacksonville. Once my daughter got a little, past 1 year old, and I was
Right.
ready to finish the degree because I was very close. I wanted to get my bachelor's in something that I was interested in, and food and wine. I am a foodie. I will shamelessly share my food pictures and like all the food pictures. I love that.
Right.
But when I was a new mom, I was always watching the Food Network.
Right.
And I thought,
You started enjoying cooking and.
well,
doing
I
that,
did because
yeah.
I had the time.
Right.
And then I really respected Giada. Thought that I would go to culinary school and come out on Food Network. Didn't really work out that way. Really.
So, I mean, did you have did you just enjoy it, or you had actually a vision of like, hey, I want to own my own restaurant or be one?
I wanted to have a little bistro, like a little wine and food bistro.
Interesting.
Yes.
Which I think you would work here today in Northeast Florida. There's enough.
Oh, yes. Like the Coastal Wine Market down in Nocatee, one of my absolute favorite places. That would have been my vision.
Coastal Wine Market. I don't think I've been. I think I've seen some pictures of.
Do you like wine?
I'm not the wine drinker. My wife is the wine. I mean, I'm not like you ladies drink wine. I occasionally. What bothers me about wine is that when you go into the restaurant and you open up the menu, and it's not that I'm frugal or something like that.
I know what you're gonna say.
But when the glass costs as much as the bottle does, I'm like,
I know.
Yes.
You're paying for the experience.
I'm paying for the
though.
experience.
You're paying. Yeah, you're really paying to keep the lights on. I know.
All right, so you eventually lead to Vintage Estate Homes, which is your first real estate
Yes.
career.
Well,
So, okay, go ahead.
No, well, from the Divine Catering,
Mm-hmm.
I got recruited into from the culinary school to be a wedding planner.
I did see that on there.
Yes.
You had a bunch of stuff on there. I didn't want to
know.
hit them all, but they were kind of blending into each other a little bit. I could see the relationship of why one would go with the other. But I'm going to circle.
Okay.
I'm going to circle back to all of them in a group question almost. But what led you to Vintage Estates? What happened? Did you meet somebody that said, "Hey, I think you'd be good at this"?
Right. So when I have been told to go into real estate since I was 18, 19 years old, and I'm stubborn, and I have to come to that conclusion on my own. So
We all have that. What if
Yeah,
we did it 3 years earlier? What if we did it 5 years earlier? Yeah.
So when I was ready, and my best friend had life coached me into realizing I was ready, I realized that I would need to have a little money in the bank, and so I went into corporate America here and did a little IT account management IT staffing account manager, and then when that path led me back, I had some money in the bank, and I was ready to do real estate. I was sure I was going to go right into general. But I was studying in a little hole in the wall off 210, and I was a very nice one. It's like where everybody knows everybody.
Right.
And I was studying. I was sitting next to this lady, and we got to talking, and I knew she was in real estate. So I said, "Can I just ask you a question? Are you what do you do?" And she said, "I'm a manager of new homes."
Okay.
And I pulled out my book and showed her that I was there to study, even though I hadn't started yet. And she recruited me right there to go to Vintage Estate Homes.
Interesting. I didn't study how long you were there, but so looking at your start at Vintage and your previous experiences, and even moving forward from Vintage, because you've worked for a couple brokerages before getting here at Heron, but what did you take from your experiences at Continental, in the wedding planning, any of those other experiences that have helped you accelerate your real estate career?
The relationship. It's all about the relationship, and just really caring about people. So whether they are, booking their dream vacation, or they're changing their life in a health club, or they're planning their dream wedding, or they're buying their dream home. This is the most important thing that they are going through, and I just love a good story. So,
Right.
And I love people. So it's just a natural thing to take.
What do you do to? Sometimes our pace in life, we move over, and I'm sure you have to catch yourself because no one's perfect at what you're talking about. But there's some people that make it's easier to build a relationship because of their personality or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's some binding, but there's sometimes you have. What do you do mentally to say, hold on a second, I need to slow down here a second. I'm not building the relationship as I want to. Because I imagine, the pace of the real estate business right now, people are calling in, but there's probably sometimes you say, you know what, I'm not spending enough time with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Does that go through your mind to say, let me step back and reevaluate what I've done so far, and then I need to spend some time with them or have a conversation with them to build that relationship. Do you go through? Or is it coming naturally to you?
It comes natural to me.
Does it really? It's to me, it doesn't come naturally. I'm moving at. I'm a bottom line person. I'm very direct.
You're a D.
So I'm trying to get it done for you.
You're
right?
a D.
Yes, high, very high.
I'm a high I.
Yeah.
So it does come naturally for me.
Yes.
It's, we all have to work on that stretch part. So I have to work on the D, but the influencing, the high I, the people, that's just
comes natural to you. Yeah. I do have to slow down. I have to think about it. I have conversations. People find it weird. My wife does anyway. I'll pick up conversations with people I went to high school with, people I've gone to college with that I might not have seen in years, and I'll pick up like we've been talking all every day.
Yeah.
I just pick up and start talking. And the odd thing is I don't have that natural thing to, hey, how are your friends and family? Because I assume you'd tell me if there was something wrong with your friends, your kids or family, right?
Right.
I'm talking to you. So I do have to think about that. I don't know how it was built into me, but that's something I have to actually work on. I have to slow down and say, oh, hold on a second. He asked me about my kids and their natural conversation. I should ask them about it. But you want to do it.
Yes.
But you want to do it with, because you care.
Yes.
And the thing is that it's not that I don't care. I didn't ask because I don't care. I just assume everybody's great.
It's just it's just the way your brain works. It's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and it's funny when literally in the last week, one of my couples from 12 years ago that I helped marry, they've relocated a couple times over. Now they're in Cincinnati. We've been Facebook friends, and she just reached out to me. Now we haven't really kept
interacted
up,
in a
right?
while,
Because first of all, Facebook monitors what they want you to see, the algorithms.
Right.
But, occasionally, I'm sure we're seeing each other's photos and liking and
Right.
commenting. But, they reached out to me, and now it's coming full circle. Now I'm going to help them relocate back.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So you went through the bistro was there. Now you're in the real estate. You're sitting there as a site agent, right?
Yes.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yes.
So now what transitions you, or does something happen with Vintage Estate Homes that moves you into the retail out on the street,
Yeah.
so to speak? What happens here?
Okay. So
What led you one way or another? Somehow you got into out of the site agent world.
So they promised me Ponte Vedra. I was a brand new agent. They promised me Ponte Vedra, and then they sent me to the West Side, and that's fine. West Side, Best Side.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And it was what it was. It was a good learning experience. But actually, my husband showed up 2 days before Christmas at my model house. My current husband. At the time, we had just met via Facebook that month, and
13
long
days.
story short, after we met 2 days later, we went on our first date. 13 days later, we're building a house, and 4 months later, we're married. And when so to your question,
Did you guys go to Vegas, or did you?
no, I had to have the fairy tale.
Okay.
Yes.
In 4 months. Wow, that's woo.
I'm a plant. I can make things happen.
Well, I guess you did work in the wedding planning
exactly.
area. Yeah.
But and then I realized that I needed the freedom. I'm air quoting freedom of being in general real estate. So.
Oh, so you were one of those that thought that you could make your own schedule and.
Where's the wine?
Exactly. It's the afternoon. This is an afternoon show. Normally do morning shows, and I know there's some people watching going, "Yeah, you guys should be drinking a glass of wine right now."
Yes.
So.
Yeah, but
So you weren't there very long. It sounds like.
I wasn't.
Right.
No, long enough
But
to
get a taste of what was going on.
Yes.
So you leave there. What leads you? And like I said, we mentioned before. I mean, if you don't want to mention the first brokerage, but what led you to your first brokerage? There's this new agent out there right now. I think one of the things I see with new agents that I meet is a lot of them don't take a few minutes up front to go and actually find out what the other brokerages are offering. Now, I will give you guys some insight because I talked to different agents from different brokerages. All of you say the education provided by the brokerage. So let's eliminate that from, let's call that, call it what it is. Everybody has good education according to the person who's there, right?
Yes, it really comes down to who has sold us on partnering with them.
Right.
That's really what it is. And I had relationships at Keller Williams, and the education was there. So,
Right. Well, as any of the large brokerages have, they want to, I mean, obviously they're sitting there on a daily basis saying, how can we recruit? Yeah. Well, everyone has to provide an education platform. The difference is you and I know that people educate themselves different ways.
Absolutely.
So one brokerage may provide it a different way, maybe having more formal classes versus informal, whatever works for you, and that's the way you've got to go. But those new agents out there, though, how important is it for them to really go and not only interview with some of the brokerages, but reach out to some of the top agents and say, hey, what's going on? Because you've worked for a couple different, what was some of the positives and negatives of some of the brokerages that you were at that, obviously, we were talking earlier, what were some of the positive and negatives from those that led you to go to Heron?
I learned something at every brokerage, and each season of where I have been to where I am now, I do not regret. The larger brokerages, you have just more support on the sense of, more people, more resources. They tend to be more of a well-oiled machine. But I'm also not discounting the smaller brokerages, that put people before property.
Right.
Wink, wink. And, there's something, I mean, that broker that I worked with, he's who I consider a mentor. Right. And he was truly available.
We'll mention Howard, because Howard's been on the show. Howard's been on the show, and everyone who's either works with Howard, yes, or has, maybe left Roundtable, all has positive, because obviously he's passionate about what he does, and his level of relationship building with you guys and showing that he cares, yes, has impacted all of you.
I feel like if I were to be a man and a broker, I would be Howard, But I'm not.
Broker. I don't know, but the man?
If I were, I'm not transitioning.
I would be like The Rock, and then I'd be the broker. I'd be Dwayne Johnson.
I was thinking more internally.
Internally. Okay, all right. Yes.
Personality, caring.
We love you, Howard.
Love Howard. He's still cute. Right. He's still cute. But yes, The Rock.
Right. So just because we're doing a 30,000 foot level overview of how things are going. So you have transitioned to the different brokerages. At what point? Because you actually had the Coastal Home Group at the last brokerage. When did the Coastal Home Group come together? When did that start to develop in your?
Actually, unofficially, 2017. We were also known as another name, and then by 2019. The Coastal Home Group.
So how many people make it? Tell us about the Coastal Home Group. What makes it up?
We are.
Tell us about your team.
Okay. I have an amazing team. We are 5 at the moment. I've had up to 7. I'm looking to bring on a few more people this year. We're all women. I don't know if we're discriminating.
I find that common.
I don't know if we're discriminating. Am I going to get in trouble? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, that's out there.
No,
Nikki's looking for some
kidding.
Good quality male agents, so give her a call. So
it's all about the right person.
So, I mean, how did it start? Did it just want another agent approach you? Or is there something like you said, you know what, I really want to expand my business and form a group and lead others? What actually, started the nucleus of the group?
Well, we have a common denominator in my group. We are all busy moms. And I feel in today's world, it's a microwave society. Everyone wants what they want now.
Yes.
And they want us.
Well, actually yesterday, but yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they want us now. And sometimes, it's funny, I've had clients show up into town and then say, hi, can you show me homes?
In an hour.
But we've talked prior to you getting here, a little notice. Right. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges for what we do is the demand. because, you know, there are days that you wake up working and it goes until 11, 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I also have 4 children. And every one of my team members has children. So we have, we've created a concept where, you know, we are here to serve. And I hate to put it out there that we work 24/7 because we do need sleep. You know, and we do have life, and we need.
There's no doubt. I'm sure it keeps you up.
But,
I mean, especially in today's with the demanding
right.
offers, or maybe you put forth an offer, and you're like, "Damn, did I put forth the best way? Did I structure it the right way?" And you're waiting, hopefully, you know, tomorrow, the next following afternoon, to find out if your offer was accepted. I mean, these type of things that keep you up. It's not just your buyer's deal. You worked hard to get that buyer, and then find them a home that they like. Then you, of course, right now you're working really hard to structure that deal to the best of your ability, that hopefully it's accepted, or at least considered in the top 2 or 3. I mean, that it's extremely stressful. So even though you may not physically be working, your brain is working all day, all the time.
Oh, yes.
And it's keeping you up at night, and that's
and we can't be in 2 places, 3,
Yeah.
at once. So I feel for us and our needs, team. It, you know, we're
so
just, we're,
it was
we're a big family.
more of you being able to provide that customer service
and find balance. I'm still looking for balance.
Right.
But
well, yeah, when you
it's a
find
work in
it, let us
progress.
know. But you have to
That's my goal for this year, find balance.
You have to take that time, and, you know, and you are not the first person, and I know you're not the last person. We all talk about that. And our business of real estate is feast or famine. Because, you know, if, you know, well, you weren't in the business in 2007 and 8, the summers of 2007 and 8. I mean, we were like, phone ring, you know,
Yeah.
it just, you know, in crickets. And luckily we made it through and stayed on long enough to catch the next ride. We know, but like it's life cycles, there will be a downturn. So we run hard. It's, you know, and when it's there, and we take the breaks when we can, or hopefully. But in this case, you've trying to create that group so everyone has coverage and everyone has a common
Yes.
need for each other.
Exactly. And
Right.
so that someone can take a day off and enjoy their birthday, and, you know,
Well, no,
be there for and at the same time be there for the client walkthroughs, and because we are full service.
Right.
We don't just, you know, show up in the beginning and the end. It's a whole process, and I think that's what keeps
everyone
our
understands
clients
what goes around comes around.
tenfold.
They may have to cover for you today, but sure enough, 2 weeks from now, something's going to happen to them. They need to reciprocate.
Yes.
All right. So we talked about Howard being a great broker. You're leading people. Do you have some new agents on this team that are fairly fresh in the business?
I do. I have Tara Masters and Jenna Barley.
Okay. So you got Tara and Jenna are fairly new. What did you learn from Howard that you apply with Tara and Jenna? That's a good one right there.
That is. Well, just to be there for them. If they, you know, if they're calling, whatever
There's a
time
reason,
it is,
right.
yes. Because he didn't shut it down for me, and I don't shut it down for them.
Right. Well, when you talk about losing sleep, you have to understand someone's calling that late at night, and I know we all try to like, oh yeah, okay, we want to like train our. Yeah, if you're working with a regular referral partner or whatever, and you know, hey, this can wait till tomorrow morning, I'm gonna let them. You respect that, but there are, especially in this market right now. I mean, if you don't get that offer in, or maybe you're late to the game and they want everyone's final and best by 5 o'clock, and you showed the house at 3. Well, you better get that offer in. You got 120 minutes to get it in, whatever those situations arise. But you're calling for that. But I think basically, I mean, he was present. He was there for you.
He was available.
What do you think that makes Tara and Jenna, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's Jenna's
What's the
birthday, by
feeling
way.
that you want to give them? When you
birthday,
do
Jenna.
that? What are you trying to instill in them?
Can you repeat that?
What are you trying because you're present? You're present like Howard, and you're available to them, and you let them know that. What is that you as a leader trying to instill in them?
That people matter, and customer service, and because it's still customer. They're
Internal customers.
internal. Yes,
Yeah.
internal.
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 Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just
Do you find one of the biggest challenges of new agents anytime during, not just now, anytime, is confidence?
Yeah, but that is why they have the support. Jenna was at a brokerage where she had no support. They weren't local.
Right.
And, when she came on board, she had a deal. We were able to walk her through it. And since then, she's worked with more than two, but a few challenging situations, and the team has helped her get through it.
I think almost every situation is challenging unless
Truly.
your customer walks in right now and says, I got cash and I'll pay $100,000 over asking. And then that's an easy one.
Exactly.
But everything in between
Right.
is tough right now. So going back to some of the basics that the great successful agents have, how has education of the industry on all aspects played in your success?
Oh, it's monumental. I mean, it's like Michelangelo says, I am still learning. I mean, we just went to Rebar on Friday, and I actually had our support staff go too. So our director of operations, Jen Bolognese, and Amber Marcy, who's newer in the position of marketing director. And there's just so much to learn always.
Right.
Not only are we learning from, each transaction and the people that we encounter when we're serving them, but just in, from our peers, we're just always learning and pivoting.
Well, one of the things I know you do is you do interact with a lot of top agents all the time. You have a lot of friends. They're working for different brokerages, whatever, but you do interact with them. I'm sure you talk shop,
Yes.
Tell some stories and laugh and drink wine.
That's right.
How important do you think it was for like that support staff to go into a room at Rebar last week, and there's roughly 1,200 agents, and to see these other humans involved in the same thing they're doing? Because sometimes I think we get caught in our own little world. We're only in our own little office. We don't realize all this stuff is going on and how many people are out there. And there's plenty of business for everyone. There's different circles everyone's in, and the millions and millions of circles that, of course, social media brings those circles in. But especially for that support staff, can I imagine? I mean, that I don't know how, if you did not bring your support staff, I think you ought to think about it next year. Because I think you make a good point. They got to meet other people in the business just like you do.
Yes.
If there's a really good transaction coordinator with another, team or something, I mean, they hopefully interact. Now, there is a challenge for you because you want to keep your employee, so you got to pay them well. But that's part of the deal. Trust me, if you are not feeding them, educating them, and obviously paying them a reasonable wage for what they're doing, they're looking anyway.
Absolutely. I do want to give a shout out to the Selling with CC team, because they were welcoming of taking in Amber for a couple of hours, and so she was.
Interest. Okay. Yeah, Cece.
Yes.
Love Cece.
Love
She was
her.
my first episode.
Yes,
she's the
amazing.
number one episode. She
Yes.
is actually still, her and Christina Welch are still battling there for the most downloads in the thing. It's every month. Yeah, they're both great in what they're doing.
They're goals.
Yes, yeah. Run two totally different teams.
Yes.
The way they structure themselves. I've actually gone through my mind since both of them have been on to actually have them both sit here and talk about the pluses and minuses of how they run their teams, because they're structured differently.
Yes.
And both under Keller Williams, so it makes it, takes the brokerage out of it. It's just, hey, how are you guys running? Why does CC think this way, and why does Christina think this way? And both of them are successful. Yeah.
It just goes to show you that there's not just one way.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
because we're all so different. So
So we're talking a little bit about education. You are leading. I'm big on the personal. That's why I got these books here, and you're gonna get a copy of Ryan over here. On the personal development, I like John Maxwell's another one of my favorites. Yeah. What do you? Are you a podcaster? Are you a book reader? Article reader? What do you like to do?
More of podcasts and articles, but I am a huge John Maxwell fan.
Yeah.
The book that changed my life over 10 years ago was Today Matters, and it was just whole mindset.
Yeah.
And then currently dabbling in the 21 Laws.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one you can read over and over.
Yes.
That's like a textbook. You have to go back and reference it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a class. My Numa Life has a class on it,
Yes.
a leadership class.
Yes, I was fortunate enough 3 years ago to go to his event over. He has it at the Marriott in Orlando. And yeah, they give you the materials to teach it. They've restructured things since then because they are trying to produce. You can go a coaching route or a speaking route, and they, if you really want to get into that and follow John Max, they give you the materials for his top books that they've got there. So,
Awesome.
is there? I think I know the answer to this one. I wrote this question down. I mean, but this might be multiple people because we've mentioned Howard already.
Okay.
I mean, who are other leaders around you that when you run into a roadblock or maybe a thought that you have that you reach out to for advice?
Oh, well, it really
is there a long list?
It's a short list. I've reached out to Josh Rogers. Mm-hmm. He's great. I've known him for years before we both got into real estate. Have you had him on your show?
No, I have not.
You should.
Yeah, I have been told, yes.
Yes.
I think I have reached out to him once.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, you have to ask again.
Yes, there's certain people.
Yes.
Yes, I try not to book too far in advance because it's like I almost like they think they forget about the booking because right now I'm about 2 months out. So, but he is on the relative short list. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Cece's always there for me.
Cece, yeah.
Good old Facebook direct message. If I have a question, she answers.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to Melissa Ricks, Shonda Campanero.
Shonda's very popular.
Yeah,
I see. She
she's
seems
fun.
to like shake
She's
hands
fun.
with everybody.
Yeah.
She is coming on the show.
funny.
Her and Melissa Ricks are going to be here together. Actually.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yes, I'm calling it the Power Hour.
I'm jealous.
Yes. So that will be.
What
that will
day
be,
is that? I might just. Have to,
I want to say it's the 18th. If I'm
definitely
not
tune
mistaken,
in.
I have to go back and double check that.
Okay.
I think I want to say it's the 18th. I'll get it out there, but yeah,
Okay.
they will both be on. So, all right. So, I think I don't know if we answered. What led you? What was it about Heron that led you to that? Because they're have come on the radar screen the last 2 years, roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, just in the season of where I was at, I needed to make a change, and I explored 4 brokers at that time, and they were just so kind, and I love kind. They were just nice and kind and friendly, and we are very like-minded, and I just really respected them.
Right.
And anytime their name would come up, whether it was Howard or someone else, Cece, I'm sure I've talked to I threw their name out at a few people. No one had a bad thing to say.
Right.
And so it just made sense to me.
So to help us out here, you have your group, because you're looking to move everybody, right? Is this a consensus? Because you've had the group for years. Yeah. How do you go back to the group and let them know, hey, this is where we're at, and this is where, so I think we need new direction.
Funny enough, at the time that I made the change to Heron, I had one person. It was that time in my other agent's career to go on a different path.
Right.
And so for about a day, I had a $30 million book of business, and it was just me and my support staff, who is no longer here, which is, everything happens for a reason. She got a great promotion on another opportunity, and then I was able to bring Jen on shortly after. But the very next day that I lost one, I had another. Tara got licensed, so it was totally God.
Yeah.
And so
now they're building an office here on this side of it, right? Because their office is over in Fleming Island now, and they're going to build another one. They're opening one here
in Mandarin.
Is it Mandarin?
Mandarin.
Okay, I thought it was Julington Creek, but Mandarin. Okay.
Yeah, that would be great if it was Julington Creek, Chrissy.
I thought the address was Julington Creek. I thought I saw something on there. I
They
don't
live
know.
in Julington Creek.
That's why I think that's probably why. That's probably why. Yes, because Christy hopefully is watching this. I sent her a card because I've been trying to get her and David on, and I won't get into details of what I had to explain to her. I said, really, this podcast is about your story. I really want the story and share with others. Because obviously I work for a lender, so they thought there might be a conflict. No, you don't see the lender anywhere around me. Oh, what's on my shirt? Okay. Oh, this cup. I'm sorry, but we don't push that out there. But it's the story and the conversation that we're having is the power, and I wanted their story because I felt like obviously what you felt with them. They seem to be very popular right now. I see a lot of obviously they're posting every time they get a new agent. Kathleen Cornish is on. She doing her videos and so forth. So I'm seeing them all the time, and that's got there. All right, let's go. Do we have a question? No, I thought you were making okay. So let's look back at your real estate career. And we'll cut out the site agent part. You're entering into the retail. Let's talk about the challenge you had in your first year versus what are your challenges today?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
First year is, you get licensed and you think, oh, I passed that test and I'm ready to go. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as you start doing transactions, you realize how much you do not know. Mm-hmm. That, there's the book of legal, but then there's doing the business.
The business, yeah.
And so I don't even know if I'm answering your question.
Well, how did you? Let's talk about how do you? The first agent comes out. I think obviously, one of the things they should be talking about with the brokers they may be interviewing with these newly licensed agents, which some brokers like to take in more than others. How are they going to help you get that first business? Right. What are some of the things that they had in? Do you remember some of the things that you come in, or did you have a deal like right away? Because
I did have.
You just answered the phone at the right time, or a family or something, or
So I did not elicit business proactively for the first 3 to 4 years of doing real estate because I had little babies. Mm-hmm. I had 4 children under the age of 6, and that was an overnight situation. So I wasn't ready to be aggressive about procuring business. But I had that mindset. I had an encouraging neighbor who is a woman. She's a woman. She owns her own business, and she sought. So when I was in Disney, mm-hmm. She messaged me because she had a situation with a realtor where she wasn't getting information. So I, late at night, answered some questions, and from there, She encouraged me to really start doing it as much as I can do it. So I was like,
so you were more or less kind of part-timing it a little bit between the kids?
Well, and I hate to say part-time because I don't do anything part-time. But yes, I was like, okay, God, whatever you want me to have. Mm-hmm. And so my first year, I think I did 7 deals, but they were all from Sphere.
Well, that's solid your first year for a lot of agents, 7 deals.
That was in 14 or between. Yeah, I think it was 14, 15.
Yeah. Now, it 15? wasn't Jocelyn's 32 that she had her first year, but I'm sure she was working a lot harder than you were, if we want to call it part-time, but casually.
Why are you trying to make me compete with Jocelyn? I am.
Well, she's just fresh on our minds from yesterday, but.
She's great.
I guess what I want to dig in. I'm trying to get out of you is a little bit of, I want like a new agent to be able to listen to us talking here, okay. And what are some of the foundational things that you learned, whether it was in the first 15 minutes you were a realtor, or it's taken you 7 years to learn
systems.
You have to have
specifically
systems. Example.
Systems with tracking your leads, systems in how you do the process of the the whole real estate transaction. Just having systems that make your whole process. And
these easier. You don't have to create a new wheel here.
No, there's
plenty of people who can share with you. You may tweak it, but there's plenty.
You can't reinvent the wheel.
Right.
You can just make your own wheel better. I mean, so my first. Director of operations was Tiara Stetcher, and she was a teacher turned real estate agent turned stay-at-home mom who wanted to get back into the workforce part-time.
Right.
And so I was willing to bring her on working from home because mom to mom, I get it. She was phenomenal. She helped us implement systems that were just game-changing for where we are today.
At what level? Because I think this is probably the biggest question you're hearing a lot, because there's a lot of agents that have started off, and especially the way the market is, are fairly successful early. Is when, in this case, that was like your first hire, right? I mean,
It was.
In a way. Mm-hmm. At what point did someone senior to you or a broker come to you and say, hey, you're reaching a level you probably really need to look to have someone doing this for you?
No, it's funny. Keller, so we went back to Keller Williams because we wanted to go from entrepreneurial to purposeful. Mm-hmm. And they do, so Gary Keller has a whole book and a system that at the time made sense, and it's, not to knock it, but we actually started hiring a little bit before we would be ready per number because of our balance as moms. So I just really felt that it was important to...
Well, but you had to make a point, like any hire has to do that, especially first hires, is you're coming out of your pocket with this.
You are.
And it's like,
Worth it.
What if no one calls tomorrow?
You have to be at the point where you're pretty consistent, though.
Yeah.
So there's that. I mean, we had grown, from each year almost doubling for a while.
Did you feel you were hitting that lid like John Maxwell talks about?
The
law of the lid. Do you feel like you were hitting that lid? Like
I knew it was coming. I knew we were getting to that
close
point.
to that.
Yes.
You were almost full.
So we hired Tiara back in July, and then by October we were ready for our first agent.
Mm-hmm. Now, the answer was that lifted that lid for you.
Yes.
Obviously, this is a success story, but so many people reach that lid and they're just so afraid. I like the way the loan group that I follow, the Mortgage Market Animals, Carl White, you can have 100% of a grape or you can have 50% of a watermelon. What do you want? And sometimes you have to bring on those assistants to go after the watermelon and to bring that kind of volume and obviously increase your earning potential and everything.
Well, who said it? Was it Wendy's, or if you build it, they will come? No, Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
Wendy's had a whole.
Yeah, if you build it, they will. Yeah, I mean, and it's like anything else. I mean, maybe if the market goes sour, you got to lay people off. That's life. That's hey, I the business is not there. I can't keep you on. But obviously, you don't do it if you don't have like I said, the regular business, or like you started, you had some savings.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you have some nest eggs. I mean, we talked about Melissa Ricks earlier. She has a staff of 4 assistants in her. It's everything thing, but her business is so blown up because she went after the watermelon versus just having all the grape.
I respect that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to the newer agent, I would just say you have to be ready to put in the time. Like, there was a sacrifice for a few years of just being away every weekend, or pretty much every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's real estate. I mean, even the site agent world, weekends is where you're going to walk in. You got to, unless you're really good that you can control. But in this, I had a house in my neighborhood. And a friend of mine, agent, had it. Obviously, it went on the market on Friday. By Sunday night, they had their offers, and on Monday, they were telling who got that offer. That was the entire weekend. There wasn't like, okay, we'll come in on Monday. I'll take you to the house on Monday. No, there was no Monday. It was, you got to go now. And then sometimes that happens, but that's why you get paid what the money you can make, because you're working those hours that a lot of people don't want to work.
Exactly.
I think that is the joke of the industry. I'm going to be a real estate agent so I can have my flex time. I can go, maybe you can schedule your day, because you can schedule your day for a little bit to pick up your kid or something like that. But don't think you have this, hey, I'm going to be home at 5:00 every day. Right. And, I'm not going to be sitting there working on a contract or something at 9:00 at night.
And especially in this market, a house hits, you have to go now.
Yeah.
So
because it's only going to be if they let it go a couple of days.
Right.
Some people are
which they should.
Taking like the first offer and like walking out, it's like, no, dude, no, just a couple of days. That's all it takes. No. One weekend and you can cover it.
Yes.
has, because we touched on this several times now already, but the people you surrounded yourself with. If someone's a new agent, or maybe they're not reaching, maybe they're reaching this lid, and their lid may not be up here, and maybe it's down here, and they're just getting by and not making the money that obviously that other people possibly are making. Not that you should measure yourself with someone else, because you're at different. A new agent should not be measuring themselves to you. That they're at different levels.
Right.
But to go and get on a phone call and have a cup of coffee. I think Shonda Caponero had a post on Facebook a month or so ago that she said she was gaining weight because she was having too many lunches with people.
Then the funny thing that she said that same week, I wanted to get out with my friend, client and friend, and I said, let's go get pedicures. Because she's right. The networking and the dinners and the lunches and the coffees, it all adds up.
Yes.
It's a struggle.
But is it not, though, as they say, I think what they mentioned at Rebar, I think this past weekend, it's sharpening your sword. But, if you're going to cut the tree down within an hour, you need to take the first 40 minutes of sharpening your axe. Because that's where you're sharpening your axe, is spending that time. Maybe you'll get pedicures. You're dual purposing the meeting, but you're sitting there talking and you're learning and educating. Yes. And I think so many, they say it's lonely at the top. It's lonely at the top because there's people that are, I'm going to say use down, that are newer, that should be calling the people at the top, because the people at the top, a lot of them, they want to give you the information. They want to tell you how they did it. They want to come on and tell you their story, because they want to share their experience with you and say you can do it too. 100%. There's plenty out this. I always that's one thing I like about John Maxwell was, living a life of abundance and not a life of scarcity.
Yes.
Right. Yes. That's one of the things I love about
Me
it.
too.
Yeah. 3 keys to success.
3 keys.
What is Nikki-Lyn's 3 keys to success?
Is that a standard question that you ask?
Sort of. Sometimes I get to it, sometimes I don't.
3 keys to success in real estate.
I'm a new agent, just started, and they said you can only give them 3 wishes, and these are the 3 things you're going to tell them that they need to do, and 10x it, and 10x with Grant Cardone. Yeah.
All right. Embrace failing forward.
Okay.
And then learn from it. The fortune is in the follow-up. And the 6-second rule.
Is that when you drop food on the floor?
5-second rule. 5-second rule. 6-second rule is when you want to be a morning person. And listen, I'm really not. But we all know morning people get more done. And when there's certain days you just have to be. Mm-hmm. Most days that end in Y in my life. But you set the alarm, and then you actually count to 6. Or is it 5? Is it 5?
I don't know.
Maybe it's
I like
Mel Robbins.
Mel Robbins, right. Is it 5?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, it should be 6. Because there's already
Is that before you press the snooze or before you roll out of bed? What's the 6 seconds?
No snoozing. There's no snoozing.
No snoozing allowed.
Yeah.
There is no. I've a lot of people probably watch that David Goggins.
My husband
and he does a great interview on Rogan, but he's got a bunch of YouTube videos. And if you really look at and look at some of the greats in his, we mentioned Rock, Dwayne Johnson earlier. I follow him on Instagram. That guy, he lives in Hawaii, so it is 9 o'clock here, a 5-hour difference on the East Coast. But he gets up at 4 a.m. He does his cardio, and then he eats breakfast, and then he goes back and clangs and bangs the weights, is what he calls it, clanging and banging.
Clanging and banging.
And so, because that's his life, is being fit. That's obviously part of his character.
Hence he's a rock.
And that's just, but if you think about that and apply that to your life as a real estate agent, yes, lifting weights is not, but maybe getting a little workout for some positive energy and staying healthy and looking good is part of the deal too, and staying healthy. But there's that time if you again, some of the greats, and we can names that everybody knows, they are up early, and sometimes it's just meditation. They're just thinking about running things through. This is what I'm going to do today. This is what I need to get done today, and that sort of thing. And that's part of their success, they feel.
I find that, when the workouts and the prayer happens early in the day is better.
Yes. The positive thought. That's why I like to listen to podcasts. I put a message out. I did a little short video the other day and put it on my personal page. You know, why do you listen to podcasts? You listen to a podcast. There's other things you can do, but you listen to a podcast because most of the time you're getting a positive message that's motivating and inspirational because you're hearing someone else's story. This is how they did it, and generally there's a positive thing. But the first thing you mentioned was failing forward.
Yes.
Give me an example of something that in that failing forward, because you probably have, and we don't have time to talk about them all. That's why I'm only asking for one, because we all have done it. But most people fear if you have not failed, you have not tried. Is the saying, right?
Yes.
I mean, what is something you did that you're like you would tell someone don't even bother to do that? I did it. It was a disaster if you do it this way.
This is a tough question.
I
failed a lot. I
just want one.
It shouldn't be a hard one. Okay.
I think we all failed at something in marketing. There's something, marketing thing. Because everyone does a lot of trial and error in marketing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, you have to embrace the going live and being okay with messing up. I mean, hence this podcast. This is my first podcast. I fumbled on a word. You know what? Am I going to beat myself up over it? No. Right. Next time I'm going to ask you to have wine in a cup for me.
We may. That has been debated to have them later in the afternoon and go with the wine. The problem with the champagne show we had, I had to go clean the tablecloth afterwards. People were. I think too many people. There's a Steve Kiles, who's a mortgage market animals who I listen to. He says it greatly. If it's something worth doing, it's worth doing badly. And he plays it a lot. I play a lot on the video. I've been in front of 70 loan officers said, "Who does video?" No one raises their hand. It's like, dude, just get in front of the camera and show you that you're real. Mess up, because if you're too perfect.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I have one now. It just came to me. You jogged my
memory.
Okay. So about 2 years ago, I was invited to a conference, a day conference, and it was put on by a marketing company that supports real estate. And we hired them. It's very expensive. And one of the offerings was green screen videos. Reading from the teleprompter.
Oh yeah, you got to practice that. That's not a natural thing. It's not natural. It's not authentic.
We spent thousands of dollars on it, and at the end of the day, I'm still trying to figure out how to get them off YouTube. You know, maybe by Monday they will probably be gone.
I'm on this thing right now. I'm doing 100 videos in 100 days because I actually had in the last week, and I may have told you this last week, I literally had 2 people ask me if I still write loans. I said, yes, I still write loans. I love my podcast, and I love, because you know why I do the podcast? Because she has to shut off her phone, and we can have a conversation. I really get to know you. And so, I leverage, so plus I've also, to me, this is my own podcast. Like as I get a high off listening to others' podcasts, I'm actually live in the podcast, and I get the high off listening to your stories and so forth. So it's kind of it's a multiple purpose thing. A lot of things I do in my life should have multiple benefits from it. Where was I going with that? I was going to say something.
I hate it when that happens.
I hate that when it happens.
But I will say go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Maybe you'll ring my.
Well, and in those tips, I do every day when I'm getting ready. I listen to something positive.
That's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The 100 videos. Yes.
Yes.
The 100 videos. So you have to remind people, but. The 100 videos and getting out there, and a couple years ago when I first started doing them, I'm going back to them because I kind of took some time off. I started doing the podcast and stuff. Now I'm doing. So people were like, "Are you scripting that?" I'm like, "No, it's stuff that I know. I think through in my mind, and I just go with it." And there's sometimes I fumble with a word or whatever, but it's only a 60-second, 90-second video, and like how many people are actually going to watch it? And the people who love you don't care.
No. Have you seen any of my recent? Because I have a similar goal. I'm trying to get 52 videos out for the year.
Okay.
1 per week. That's a step in the right direction.
Are you putting on Instagram or Facebook? I have not seen them.
Because Facebook suppresses them.
Well, there's probably some things you're talking. What are you
or
talking
maybe
about?
I'm not doing it right. I'm still learning. But anyway, I'll send them to you, or I'll figure out a way over the next week with my marketing girl to make sure that
on
it's
Tracy's page too.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So actually, I have embraced the imperfection. I've always been that way. Like, I'm the first one to call myself out. I am not perfect. I make mistakes daily as a mom, you know, as a human,
Hey,
as a friend.
You know, talk about throwing it out. You know, Daniel will attest this because we talked through, especially, you know, that first 10, 15, 20 podcasts that I was doing, catching myself. And I still, because I listen to the podcast auto, you know, the auto when it goes out on Spotify and Apple, I'll be driving, I'll re-listen to the podcast again. And some of the things that I was doing, actually I caught myself, one of them is on a couple episodes ago, right, saying, you know, because the mic's picking it up. And so while my guest is talking and I'm like, but I don't have, if you verbally do it on the podcast, it doesn't sound good. Right? So those are things you work through. I mean, and the reality is most of the time we are our biggest critics.
We are.
And no one even noticed it.
Someone noticed it, but you're right. Hopefully not many.
Yeah, not many. But they love
the haters will notice it.
The haters will notice it, and there will always
matter.
be those be out there. So, all right, we've been on an hour, so I'm going to wrap this up. I got a few. These are my standardized questions. These are standardized questions.
Oh, there's more.
Is it more important who you know or what you know?
Knowledge is power, but who you know. I hate it. I'm going to tell you a quick story on that.
Okay, let's go for it.
Back when I was 28, I remember this very well. I had this beautiful friend. She looked like a supermodel. And long story short, I went on a trip to Hawaii and came back, and she was hanging out with my boyfriend. And he was influential. He worked on a radio station, actually, and then some. And you know, one of her comments to me was, "It's not a matter of what you know; it's who you know, Nikki." And but I had the last laugh because we did this 9-mile race, and she's, you know, longer and leaner, but I was like, in that last mile, I zipped right past her. It was great, but I used to hate that she said that,
right?
Because I was going to college and she wasn't. She was just beautiful, but she was. It's true.
People were getting to know her because of her looks, but that only went so far.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that beautiful people will open doors. But it will only get you that far.
True.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit of both, I really think.
Yeah. Travel bucket list. You've been a lot of places. Is there any place that you have?
Yes. I really want to go to Ireland.
That is a popular one.
Yes.
Actually, if there's been any one country, I think it would be the number one.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't believe I haven't been. But my family, it's either going to be Hawaii or to Colorado to ski. That's our next big family trip.
Colorado's been on the list too, on there. All right, so here's my last question. I'm a loan officer. You obviously are a successful real estate agent. For my loan officer friends out there, and for my book, what is the number one thing with your referral partner? Okay, because now I've seen you hang out with a lot of loan officers, but I think they're just hanging around you to make it look good. Because I imagine, I don't even know who you use directly, but what is the number one thing you require of that?
Of the lender?
Of the lender, yes.
Trust, communication. That you asked for one thing, but
right.
Being able to trust them with our client. And that
I think trust and closing on time is like, okay, that's like required, right?
Yeah, I mean, closing on time, you know.
You wouldn't work with them if you didn't trust them. You have to like and trust them, yeah.
What is it? Under promise, over deliver.
Right.
Just know how to take care of people.
Right.
And I'm very picky about who we partner with.
Right. Yeah, communication has been the number one answer to that, and that's everyone there. Nikki-Lyn, I appreciate you coming on. And
Thank you so much for having me.
Actually, hour plus went by very quickly. Yeah,
we started fun.
We started at was it 2:23?
I was a little nervous at first,
yes. Guys. But maybe what we can do is, you know, in 6 months or so, maybe you'll bring on one of your successful teammates or something, and we'll continue our conversation.
That sounds good. Thank you so much for having us.
Nikki-Lyn's information is going to be in the show notes, her Instagram and Facebook and email and that sort of thing. So if you want to reach out to her, obviously, you know, it's not too difficult. Nikki-Lyn Holm, not Holmes. It's Holm. Holm. And she is reachable, approachable, and obviously would love to chat with you if you want to talk about joining the Coastal Home Group.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.